everyone. Welcome back to episode 8 of Building Success and Loving Life. And today I want to talk about loving life and the power of your surroundings and how it can influence you in who you are and how you show up in life. Last week, I spoke about self-talk and how self-talk matters. It's all of those stories and signals that your brain is feeding you. Well, your surroundings also play a very important part in what your brain is feeding you because it's a constant reminder of who you are, where you live, and your identity. And when I talk specifically about surroundings, I'm talking not only about where you live or your car, but it's also the people that you spend time with and the media that you consume, the places you go. It can either lift you up, it can make you feel good, it can excite you, it can motivate you, it can give you energy, or those surroundings can bring you down, can depress you, can suck your energy. And generally, it's not something that we make very conscious effort to change or to adapt, but we can, and it can have such an important impact, especially if we're looking to change, if we're looking to evolve and become a different version of ourselves. And I want to use a very, very basic example, and then I'll get into some more specific examples around home, people, and things that you consume. But just to illustrate what I mean about surroundings is that for me, I'm a person who loves health and wellness and fitness. And so in my house, I have sneakers hanging around. I have weights. I have a yoga mat. I have one of those big balls that you can do exercises on. Those are signals in my home that are telling me that I am a healthy person and that I exercise. It's contributing to my identity. I love getting up in the morning and putting on my workout clothes. My sneakers are right there because I know within the hour that I'm going to exercise. My surroundings, I have made them reinforce the person who I want to be. So let me be a little bit more specific about how you can change it and what I mean by surroundings, firstly at home. So there are simple things that you can do in your home that are going to communicate on a subconscious level to your brain about who you are. So, for example, are you somebody who makes your bed daily? Is your desk area clean? Is your kitchen tidied up? Are your windows clean? Those are the types of things that are going to be sending a message that I'm a tidy person and I care about my surroundings. Versus, do you have piles of dirty clothes on the floor? If you do, there's absolutely no judgment. I'm just curious for you to ask yourself, how does that make you feel? Is that contributing to the person that you want to be? For me, for example, I've added fresh flowers that I buy almost weekly. It adds energy, it adds life, and it adds a pureness, I would say, to my surroundings that I absolutely love. My decor is minimalist. Also, it's important because for me, that helps the energy circulate. So look around you. If you're sitting at home listening to this or watching this, is your home communicating the identity that you want to have and be? I would also suggest questioning the people that you surround yourself with. Now, I'm not absolutely not saying you have to get rid of your husband or your mother-in-law, but there are some choices that we can make either in some of our family members or the friends that we spend time with. Personally, I've chosen not to spend time with women who gossip, with women who complain, and with women who tear each other down. Those are not the type of people that I want to be around. I've chosen to spend my time with women who are encouraging other, who share ideas, who lift each other up. And I just want to share one story. These are actually friends of mine who I think are just absolutely fabulous. So, and something that they've done. So they're from Maine and they have this hiking group of friends called Broads in Boots. And it's a group that hike almost every Saturday together all over Maine and New England. And it's a group of, I think, 5 or 6 women. And they've identified with each other and with an activity that they love. And they have found something that lifts them up, that helps them build and be a better self. And just that minor, also, I would say they have an Instagram account. And just also by labeling it Broads in Boots, they are sending out a positive energy about, it's important to connect. It's important to explore. It's important to be together every single week with rituals and, sharing stories and connecting. And I think that that's just a wonderful example of how we gravitate, but we can also create groups of people that we want to surround ourselves with. I would also encourage you to question what you consume. So, what you consume is part of our surroundings. So, it's either definitely the food and the alcohol is one element. So, if you are telling yourself that you want to be somebody who is fit and lean and healthy, but then you open your cupboards in the kitchen and it's all processed foods, junk foods, there's no fruit and vegetables, then there's going to be a disconnect in your brain. And your brain is actually not seeing those elements which could contribute to you feeling like a fit and healthy person. Another example of when I talk about consuming, it's also, for example, social media. What are you consuming in terms of social media? For example, I've personally cleaned my social media feed up. And first of all, I only look at it usually once or twice a day briefly. And that there are only things and people that inspire me, that pull me up. It's never any accounts that make me feel bad about myself or where I have to compare myself to those women and feel crappy. So social media feeds are they have such a power over us that we don't see, that I would question what is coming through your feed. The second thing in terms of consuming when it comes to media is the news. I find it so depressing. The news, when you turn on the news and there's a war and there's a pandemic and there's accidents and somebody's gone missing and somebody has been murdered and, it just goes on and on and on. I have personally stopped watching the news. My time is limited in my day. And I do not want to be nourishing my surroundings. That is part of my surroundings. It's part of what I am bringing into my world that is just feeding me all of the negativity that exists in this world. I just don't want that. So I've stopped watching the news. And maybe I'll read the newspaper a couple times a week, but I get to choose what I want to read in the newspaper rather than having to sit there and just be bombarded with the negative information that the media is feeding us. Those things make me feel depressed, scared, and often powerless. So I've cleaned them up. So I'd like to give you now some tips to try and think specifically about your surroundings and how you feel in your surroundings. Do you like your surroundings? And if there is anything that you can do to fine tune your surroundings. And this is something that I started doing 1 year ago, and it has made such a huge impact. It seems very, very small, but those small things add up. So, the first thing that you can try is a room or a drawer or a closet edit. That means over the past year, for example, I go through one drawer at a time, one closet at a time, and I clean it out. And I look at, are there things that I need? Are they things, that bring me joy? Are they things that I use? Will I use them again? But just doing it little by little, I've actually gotten rid of a lot of stuff. I've given things away that I don't use, that I was just hanging on for some reason. But now what's in my drawers and in my closets actually suits me for the person who I want to be today and my future self. I would, secondly, encourage you to do a people audit. Are you spending time with people who bring you up, who elevate you, where you have interesting, positive, constructive conversations? Or are you still hanging around friends who are gossiping and talking about other friends? I would just say pay attention when you go out with certain friends to how you feel at the end of the evening or the end of the weekend. Are they feeding your soul or not? And if not, I would suggest setting some boundaries. The third tip is definitely a social media edit. Very, very important. I think if every time you pick up your phone and look at Instagram, it's making you feel crappy because you're comparing yourself to other people, that you're not as thin as them, you're not as successful as them, you're not traveling as much as them, you don't have as much money as them, your hair doesn't look as great as theirs does. If you are constantly in a comparison game, get rid of it. Honestly, there's people that I followed for years who served me, that helped me at a certain time of my life. But I consciously now, every couple months or so, go through my social media and do an edit. The last thing also that I would suggest is doing a pantry edit. Again, a lot of times we hang on to things because we might need them one day. But I have found that as I, clean up my pantry and clean up my kitchen cupboards, it makes me think twice when I go to the supermarket. If I buy something, is that ingredient or is that food really going to serve me? Is it part of who I want to be or not? So those, I would say, are just simple ways that you can edit, but you can also add. And that's also what I have done over the past year is I've added some things to my life. And the first one is fresh flowers. It has made such a huge difference. I don't know, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, you can see behind me, I always have orchids, but I also buy fresh flowers. It just changes completely the atmosphere. The second thing that I've done that I've added is that I changed all my glasses. So glasses that you drink from, and I bought really nice glasses. And it's so much nicer drinking from a nice glass. I did the same thing with my mugs. I had, all of these mugs, none of them matched. And now I have a set of dishes that are nice, that I love using, that I enjoy using, and that also tell a story about who I want to be. So I would suggest thinking about what you can edit out of your life, but also what you can add. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be anything major. But if you edit one thing out and add one thing in weekly, I guarantee you in 52 weeks, your surroundings will tell a completely different story about who you are. And this is where you can consciously decide who you want to be, how does that person live, and how does she surround herself. Wishing you a fantastic week, ladies.